Okay. Got to get in the zone. Got to get zen. Got to get ready for the positive energy. Got to stay positive, guys. This is how we do it.
23 World Cup champs. 23 World Cup champs.
23.
Reach Cooper level zen right now.
Just get in that Cooper zone. That's what we need. Cooper zone. All right, let's jump into this.
Talk us through those 80 minutes. No, we prepared to win. We knew that we were here to make history. The whole week, that's what we told ourselves. And you know what? I'm so proud of the boys. Absolutely humbled. And the guys came out, they played with enormous testicles. And we absolutely did it. Fantastic effort. I'm such a happy captain.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are, one and all, welcome to the Dropped Kickoff for another week, and it is a very, very, very special podcast. My name's Nick, of course, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. First, Natho, how are you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm feeling pretty full after all the humble pie we ate after that last podcast, but I'm loving it at the moment.
Yeah, we were saying it last week after we got the earthquake warning, that we were happy to be proven wrong, and proven wrong we were, and it is the best feeling ever to be proven wrong. We were not convinced at all, unless of course you're Jack. Jack, how you doing, mate?
Good, yeah, never doubted him. What a legend.
Yeah, I know, it's the best. And then over with he's back, the veteran himself, but he's got a brand new fancy crisp mic. Nick Hartman, how are you, mate?
Hello.
Great. Hear that sound.
The very best from Dortmund. Yeah, mate, good. At peace with the world.
Yeah, it is so nice to talk about. Not just obviously, you know, I think it's kind of taken us all a little bit by surprise. I mean, it's no secret when we announced that, when we were talking about this game last week, that, you know, the moment that the box announced that squad, we knew that we were in for a tough game. We thought it was going to be a tough night for the Wallabies, and we were proven completely and utterly wrong. The Wallabies put in a fantastic performance, beating the world number ones 26-28 off the back of the one and only Quade Cooper. So tonight we are going to talk about what the hell just happened, and here are our hot topics, our 5 burning questions. Question 1, just simply, so Quade Cooper? Question 2, what else excited us about that Wallabies performance? Question 3, what will we need to improve on this weekend if we want to beat the Box again? We were joking that, you know, we only thought that we were going to be in it to properly beat Argentina, but we're now potentially on the verge of winning back the Mandela Challenge plate. Touch wood, of course. Early days yet. Question 4, and I feel like this is a very valid question to ask right now off the back of that. So, who is the actual best team in the world now? And then question 5, we're going to jump on and predict for the upcoming games this weekend. It'll be another doubleheader at Suncorp once again. But first, let's dive into this match, boys, because my God, there is a lot to process. And I'm going to throw to you first, Nathan, for this one. Quade Cooper, who would have thought?
I never doubted him, man. This was always coming. Absolute masterstroke. Look, that was probably the closest thing you'll get to a Hollywood script unfolding right in front of us. I mean, let's face it, it wasn't the Quade Cooper which would go out and try and step 4 or 5 guys, or we joked how many sort of flick passes is he going to throw. This was someone who's looks like a more centered, and he looked just like a playmaker. He made every right decision, made every sort of kick count. In the end, he looked more South African than the South Africans did, in terms of he was pinpoint with his kicks. He controlled the game. I think it was interesting. There was moments where you could see that experience shone through, as compared to having someone like Noah, who I think still was a bit hard done by. But anyway, he can get the experience coming through the system now. But there was a play, I think it was that second or third penalty, where Cooper puts the kick through, and it seems like a nothing kick, but he sees the space behind the fullback, puts the kick through for Ikitau, who does incredible work to get over the ball and get the penalty. And you've heard Rennie speaking throughout the week, and he said was that how reading the game and sort of processing that both on and off the field was something that Alessio was missing. And it was something that when you look at plays like that and you looked at how he controlled the game, even when we were sort of down at two separate stages to 14 men, controlled the clock, kicked the goals necessary, you really saw that experience shine through. And honestly, it was incredible to see that. Not only that, to see someone with his boot just build scoreboard pressure. And that was refreshing to see from an Australian point of view, something we called for last week. So it was all around it was incredible. And Cooper can take all the credit, well, not all the credit, but a lot of the credit for it.
It was a great performance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's what you want, It was understated. It was just so good. It's like when you watch, I don't know, like Godfather for the first time at the end of it, you go, that's a fucking great movie. It's just Quaid. You look back and you go, that was fucking great. Like, you're right, Nathan. He was, he was keeping the South Africans on their toes, and it was great to see that from a Wallabies attack. He would run it flat, and then, he would run it straight into the line. There was that great moment where it was close to the try line, but he, went right up the guts of him, took the ball running. And then another time he saw it, like, I think just at the end when he did that great kick that Bataille forced the error off, was it Andre Pollard or Willie LaRue or whatever?
Yeah.
And then there was the other time where he did a little chip kick right in the center, right behind the line. It was just great, sort of eyes up. I'm just going to fucking do something that you won't expect. That really kept the South Africans on edge. And I think it's really understated that really, really held the South Africans back. Because, if you do the little chip over the back, you go, oh, shit, they might put someone there. So that might pull someone out of position. It's just great eyes up stuff. And I'd love to see, and this gets a bit silly here, but I'd love to see what Squidge has to say about it.
Yeah.
Oh, what's he doing?
No, we're converts to Squidge.
Yeah, I want to know what to think, Squidge.
Squidge knows what he's on about. Touching on that point, Nathan, that you make, that whole idea of just trust and confidence, it was like suddenly everything clicked. Like all we've been talking about, that the boys, up until this point, you got a sense that they didn't quite trust in themselves or believe in themselves, but suddenly you just put kind of that experienced playmaker in place. You've got obviously, and suddenly it was just like, we got this. Like they had that calming presence, that head there, and then suddenly from the moment that they were all calm, everyone started to step up. It was wonderful. Like it was that seeing that confidence and that depth that we know is there, or seeing that actual capability that we know is there, but then actually put into practice by this just simple thing of just believing in each other. It was so fascinating. It was wonderful to watch, and the fact that they kept that up through the entire game was just a wonderful sight to behold. Jack, what were your thoughts on this match, mate? You would have been fist pumping come the end.
Oh yeah, I was up and about, had my shirt off, sweating, getting real excited. I think there'll be a lot of babies born 9 months from now called Quaid.
A lot of Quaids.
Yeah. But it's as everyone's touched on, it just makes such a difference when you have just this mature, assured playmaker who's pulling the strings. I've said it for a while that it's all well and good, blaming a rookie 10, but it's the senior players in the squad that need to step up and take the game by the horn sort of thing. And that's what Quade Cooper did. And that's what we've been missing for a while.
I think also as well, there is something to be said about having that 10 and 12 combination as well. You look at Alessio, whenever he's been thrown to a Wallabies setup, that 12 has generally changed for him, or it hasn't been, an Ire Simone that he's used to. Having someone like Karevi alongside him, where he played in defence, he played the bodyguard tactic with him. He was on his hip, and it sort of used him perfectly. And to see that, and just not only see that confidence, but I think that also confidence is not only coming from Quaid, but it's come from that France series as well. I think we now have a Wallabies team just an Australian team that is confident when it comes down to those last 3 minutes that they can find a way to win. It's incredible what a difference it makes when you have that scrum with 30 seconds to go, and you can have someone like Tupu and Kaitu'u, two long mates who've come through the system, dominate a scrum, Nick White win the penalty, and then have someone can step up and take it with the confidence of, no, we can still pull this off. This is still time. It's incredible.
So if James O'Connor is back healthy and available next week,
which he is,
what do you guys think? Should Quaid keep his spot? Should O'Connor come on? What happens with Noah? Noah, yeah, because I've seen even people shouting that Cooper should stay in 10 and then O'Connor at 15. What are you guys' thoughts?
I reckon, right? Don't rock the boat. Don't throw him in at fullback. I think as good as Quaid played, I'm not sure we'd want to say, keep playing Quaid when James O'Connor is there, thinking about the next World Cup. I don't want to throw him at fullback. So just play Attire at fullback, instead, or Kellaway, shuffle that around. I wouldn't want to go say, oh, shit, we've got James O'Connor's great and Quaid's great, or Quaid just played a great game. We've got to fit him in. I think that would disrupt the rhythm, but I'm sure, King Rennie.
Has Quaid earned the right to be fly half number one, though? Don't you think?
I think after that game, I think let's face it, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's probably won you the game. I think you have to give him this one. And let's not forget, James O'Connor's coming back from a groin injury that's kept him out for, a good 3 months?
Yeah.
He's going to be underdone. And when you look at all of a sudden look at that team makeup, I think 15 is probably not the best option, but you bring someone on like him from the bench, someone who can not only cover fly half, can cover centre, and say, even if we need a fullback, which, as you've alluded to, we probably don't, given you just chuck Kellaway Batai back then, he all of a sudden becomes an upgraded version of Reece Hodge, minus the whole being able to play in the wing. So I think that's your option. You put Quaid at 10, O'Connor off the bench, and all of a sudden, for a bench which had, let's face it, I think it was under 40 or 50 caps. Oh, sorry, no, with Slipper coming back last week, it would have been a bit more, but for that Bledisloe, I know it was about 40 or 50 caps. So you get him back in there to come on for the last 15 minutes, hopefully ice out a game again. All of a sudden, it's a pretty dangerous looking side.
Yeah, well, I think you'd have to include O'Connor in some capacity. Additionally, what also gets me excited about him is that I think O'Connor is exhibiting similar traits that Cooper is, a sense of maturity that we saw it in the Super Rugby AU final when he just it was just a complete trust that he could sort this out. He could find a way for the Reds to win. I feel like that similar to Cooper, there is a sense of maturity there that hasn't been there in previous times that he has played, for the Reds or for the Wallabies. So there's a lot to like. Who'd have thought we have options, lots and lots of potential options at 10 in that back line. There's a lot of things to like.
Just on his redemption, isn't that just so wholesome? Remember when James O'Connor came back, and I think his first game was the first Perth test when Nick White beat the All Blacks and Hooper got punched in the head by Scott Barrett that game. And at the end of the game, he was just like, they interviewed him. He's like, how are you? And he'd taken his shoes off and his socks off. And he just said, it's just great to be back on the earth or something. I've just been walking around with my shoes off, just taking it all in. I'm just so, I'm so grateful to be here and I'm so blessed. And I'm like, that's so wholesome. What a dude. That's what I'm here for. And Quaid, after the game, his interview, he was ice cold.
It's just footy. You just said it's just footy.
Yeah, and he was just like, thank you. He was just like, thank you, Sonny Bill Williams. Like, you turned my life around. And that's the most important thing. And apparently, when he said, they were deciding who to take the kick, is it him or Reece Hodge? Quaid said something like, I had to check my ego. and see, you know, does my ego want me to take this kick, or do I believe he can do it? Oh, it's so wholesome. And then when he took the kick, he just turned around and kicked it through. Like, no.
D Rose, it just calms you like. But that's been his attitude the whole time. And that's something that's really stood out. I think it was the press conference he was at. It wasn't the one Friday after he was picked, but it was the one I think the week beforehand when everyone thought he was going to get picked. And it was fascinating to listening to him talk about that. Yeah, that period when he got sent back to Clubland, played for South. I think it was 3 years ago. And he was talking about how going back there kind of reinvigorated not his love for the game, but his understanding of the game. He understood that why some players couldn't see it how he could. How all these players weren't these natural game breakers like he was. They were just people who were just playing for the fun of it. And all of a sudden, he started taking a lot more love out of coaching and sort of helping these people out. I think it really helped sort of develop his idea and this mindset that there is life outside of rugby, which people do lose. I know there's been a couple of, I think Bobby Valentini at the start of the year said the exact same thing. It's when he's found this other purpose outside of life, Bobby being the birth of his kid, it really helped him put perspective into a game and made him a better player, it's always fascinating to hear. When you have these young guys coming through, you hope these players like O'Connor, Cooper, even Karevi coming back, even Sean McMahon, who's coming back to the squad this week, that they can help find that same thing, and you can kind of these players can take that next step, which is it's honestly really exciting to see.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to lead us on to question 2, because what excited us, what else apart from, of course, the incredible performance by Quade Cooper, what else excited us about that Wallabies performance? I kind of want to kick this off with some kind of an interesting thought about this, which is why this result felt different to other results that we've had this year. Yes, that Bledisloe series was a rough ride for us, but generally speaking, this has been a really interesting year for the Wallabies so far. I mean, we won that French series, and maybe we weren't as keen on that French series when we won it. I know a couple of people called us out for being a little bit critical in that podcast still, even though we won it, that series, because, there was a lot of question marks about, the quality of, like, the strength of that French side, if they'd sent a full strength side, what's it's hard to get a gauge of where we were at, even though we won that series. This one, there is no doubt about that. That was a World Cup winning Springboks side. They put out one of the strongest sides that they have ever, it's a side that won a World Cup, and we beat them, which feels so incredible. It's honestly amazing to look at. Jack, I'm going to throw to you for this kind of question. Apart from, obviously, it's hard to deny how great Cooper was, but what else excited you about that Wallabies performance?
Oh, there was a lot to like, wasn't there? I think we touched on it, that combination with Quade and Karevi really worked well. I thought Iki Tau outside him actually had, an understated game.
Yeah.
Great things.
He was great.
Yeah. Kellaway, I think he's, bona fide test player. And I thought the forwards really stood up against the Bok pack. It was just, an all-around good game. I think what pleased me most was that we were able to, sort of change our tactics. You could really see from, playing the All Blacks to playing the Springboks, there was a huge shift in what we were trying to do and how we tried to, combat the Springboks. What they were trying to do and be able to meet them up front, shut them down out wide. We put in some clever kicks. Sometimes we didn't, but you could see that the game plan that they were formulating really worked. And I think I called for it last week, where it was, the Boks would just play conservative, kick to the corners, and we can get over the top of them. And it was really pleasing to see that they were able to follow through on their game plan.
Yeah, there was a real sense of just things clicking. Was kind of, I felt, about that game plan. that really that there was so much that just it felt like what Rennie had been striving for in terms of the strategy that he was going with to just kind of be a bit smarter around gameplay, and just it finally just seemed to execute a bit more, which was wonderful to see. I think it's probably, in terms of Rennie's tenure so far as coach, it's probably definitely it's definitely his most important win so far, I reckon, as Wallabies coach. Well, Nathan, I'm going to throw to you for this one, because last week you mentioned a really great point about how you were a bit more optimistic. I got a sense going into this game. Correct me on this if I'm wrong, because that unlike playing the All Blacks, when we play against South Africa, despite the fact that they're world number one, there isn't that scar, that damaged perception or sense of invincibility when we go up against them. Do you think that played into a factor here?
I think to an extent. I think there was times, particularly during that All Black series, when they went down to, say, 14 men, I think in 2 of those games, and there were stages where you just thought that Australia, instead of taking onus and saying, right, we're scoring points now, there was almost that hint of, wait, we can do this. Oh, God, we can win this. And then there was almost panic. Well,
yeah.
You look at when Khaleesi goes off, it just seemed like there was that growth and that switch, that turn that went, okay, it's 6, or I think it was 6 all the time. This is our time to build pressure. This is where we need to get a result. Sure enough, minute later, Cooper to Karevi to Kellaway, 7 points.
Try. Yeah.
To be able to see that growth, and sure, it might just be that against South Africa, we're more willing to kind of not throw the ball around, but be a lot more calm and patient and take what we see in front of us. But to see that growth and to see a team actually take advantage of those numbers and then build that scoreboard pressure, which we were saying last week was missing, and we've talked about already in this podcast, was really comforting to see.
Yeah, there was a lot of. It just felt like again, like just taking. It actually felt like, I think we've talked about how McDermott in previous podcast, after games and stuff, he came out and he went, yeah, look, we haven't been able to take the learnings that we've been talking about forever, and not actually, like, we feel like whenever we've gone out and played games, we haven't applied that. This time it felt like they actually did. They actually took the learnings that they had and they actually just played, and they didn't think about it too much. Nick, what are your thoughts on this performance? Who else kind of stood out to you in terms of specific players?
I think everyone played a really good game except for a couple. I thought Karevi had a great game. We've already talked about him, but it was a magnet, 2 or 3 men on top of him all the time. There was that great break he made that he offloaded to Pete Samu that unfortunately didn't end ideally, but he played a great game. I think, shout out to Angus Bell.
He played well, didn't he?
All props look big, but those South African props look twice as big as any other prop, and they are World Cup winning props, and they're stacked. The South African forwards are stacked. To think that Marks doesn't start is insane. Yeah. In terms of and I think Tate also, and Tate had another great game. If you were to ask, who do we play next? I want to see White start. I think Tate was good, but White took it to another level. Especially that 50-22. That was just flawless execution. Heads up, had a look, and nailed it. That was fucking amazing. I don't think though that Tate's quite there, but he had another great game. Nothing to take from him, really. Although, just in terms of, you mentioned clicking it and nailing it. I think also Nathan's right on the whole composure. We didn't lose our marbles. And Khaleesi going off, it's kind of like, Springboks like, shit, how do we deal with this? We were sort of thoroughly beaten when their forwards came on. Obviously, it's hard to turn the tide. I think South Africa played a really poor game. But we didn't, their forwards came on and made a difference. If it was like a 10 out of 10 performance, they wouldn't have touched us kind of thing at all. And they almost snuck the game. They did one high kick in the corner and almost snuck the game. But look, it's still a pretty fucking good win. It was great. It was amazing. Things look like they worked. There's still a lot to work on. That Karevi play, for example, I just mentioned, beat Salmon, went to nowhere. And, it's just kind of like, when they're hitting that sort of stuff, that's when we'll get really excited, because that's been a hole in the Wallabies play for ages, that support and that heads-up play, which Quade provided half of it. We just got to work on the other half. But that's what sort of excites me, that we know we can do this now.
Yeah.
And we know what we have to work on.
Yeah, look, I don't want to, it kind of had an eerie feeling. I remember we talked about, I think it was the back in 2015, we won a game after the bell. This was like early days of Checker, when we had that really fantastic run leading into the World Cup, when we won a game after the bell. And it just started this kind of period of time when the Wallabies played a fantastic, batch of games and won. I can't remember how many they won on the trot, but it was probably the last time that we won a good 5 or 6 or 7 games on the trot, and then that included a win against the All Blacks as well in Sydney. It was just a sense of, it kind of felt eerily similar to me, that there was a moment of, okay, something's clicking. This is clicking here. This is what we're trying to actually do on the training park, and what we're actually trying to do, is being translated into what we're executing on the field. And we'll get into whether they can back that up and do that again for a second week in a row is one thing. But I really hope that the players and the coaches as well take just so much from this, because it showed that when you are able to apply all that stuff, there's the makings of a fantastic team here. There's a really, really good Wallabies team here that has the potential to do incredible things and win incredible games. And the fact that they, there's been multiple instances this season where they've just found a way to win is really, really positive. It's a really great thing to see. I think I agree with Natho that Ikitau had a blinder. I thought he was outstanding. I thought Matt Phillip, even though he did get sent to the bin for the bit, was a real nuisance in the line-out as well, which was fantastic. It was great to see, and that bench made a fantastic impact, which was really positive to see as well. I think there had been some question marks about Leota and the hooker whose name escapes me.
Kaitu.
Thank you. But they played really well. They all really stood up, and cometh the hour, cometh the men rather. They all stood up and put in a great performance, which was really, really positive to see. But
just one thing, another thing about performance. Well, let's say performance, not Wallabies performance. Let's talk about the ref. Look, he made a few weird calls, but his clarity and him telling the TMO, look, let's just check all the angles. I've got a decision. Let's just check them. Hurry up. Was amazing and so refreshing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe did they also just buy him a German mic as well? But he was the audio was great.
It was the discretion as well. Like, there was a couple of moments where you thought, I think there was this Swinton one where he dives in, or I can't remember who it was. One of the South Africans took the ball like 10 centimeters off from the ground, and you thought, oh goodness, all right, this is going to be yellow. We're going to be down. I think we're already down 14 at that stage. Actually, no, I think it was just before the Finger incident. So you thought, all right, we're good. But it kind of went through the system and went, actually, no, there's discretion here. There's this, he's falling, it's this, it's just a penalty. It was like, in a day and age where referees treat the book as sort of black and white, just applying that little bit of grey just kind of made a better game.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? It really did. So that's Luke Pearce, the ref. I think it's good that you've brought this up, Nick, because I feel like it's important, in this day and age to to give a fair go to the ref, and it's so easy for people to criticize a ref or to say that the ref was that played an impact in this game or that aspect of the game. But I genuinely thought, obviously I had a chat with a few folks after this on Twitter, and I actually thought he did a really great job. I thought he did a really great job. When his refereeing was reflective, I thought of the dominance of the teams themselves, and it complemented the game as well. I do agree that there was some, iffy calls about around the scrum specifically, but in Pearce's defence, the scrum looked like one of the hardest parts of that game to ref because there were so many things going on around what was happening in the scrum. That and the scrum has often been seen as kind of a grey area and a difficult thing to ref. And I think, considering the competitiveness that was actually happening at scrum time and the fact that the Wallabies were able to measure up, I thought that Pearce did a pretty decent job at reffing it, all things considered. But yeah, shout out to Luke Pearce. Great, fantastic job with the whistle.
The only two sort of issues I have, or three kind of, and I'm not getting Razzie here. One might have been, the Matt Phillip maul sack. I don't know. Well, even when you grab the ball.
No, I disagree. That was the third. I think it was like the third or fourth warning he'd given us. It was
the third penalty in a row.
Yeah, there was a card coming.
But he even said himself when he's going through trying to see if it was a penalty try. Phillips swum through his legal at this point, kind of stopped for 3 seconds, and then went, "All right, there's nothing more in that." So I think even he knew at that stage that it's probably not the right call. But I mean, look, you got to stick with it. And mauls are such a cluster that you just got to make a decision as it goes.
The rugby report card was going off. The boy Blake from the rugby report card was going off on Twitter, just going, "Mate, these mauls are shit." They're totally in the attacker's advantage. Like, what can you do to stop them? There are so many things that you can't do, and Matt Phillip seemed to be doing everything right and still got it wrong. The other two things, the other two refereeing mistakes was
you are going full Rassie. He's got the Chris Mike, and he's now
so fucking low. It was like the scene from The Simpsons where Rainier Wolfcastle was looking at his feet to see if his shoelaces were tied or not. When what's his name, Swinton hit him and didn't wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Etzebeth was like, his head was below his hips. That was insane. I was just like, okay, the penalty, it was fine, but that was a bit iffy. And at the end, the penalty to Nick White, I don't know, it wasn't really clear to me, but before that, about a minute before that, Dwayne Vermeulen had walked through the ruck and had his hands on the ball, clearly slowing it down, clearly.
Is this the one Benny Darwin pulled us up on this? Yeah.
And he was just like, "Don't do that." Because he knew, because it was right in front of the six, he didn't want to blow the penalty that, won the game. Wallabies. But anyway, great apart from that. Sorry. So
apart from that.
Gee. Oh God. There was a lot to enjoy in that game. Let's call it at that. And I think everyone, all things considered, apart from the Box, many Springbok supporters have said that was a pretty average game from them. It was reflective. It was reflective of a good quality game, played in good spirit at least. But leading on from that point, let's get on to question 3, because while we have been talking the fantastic performance that the boys put in, the question that we now ask is, can they back it up? Because this weekend we've got a game at Suncorp Stadium, the Box with the Mandela Challenge plate on the line as well, that's been held by South Africa for a couple of years now, I think. It's going to be an interesting game to keep eyes on. So where do we think, and I'll throw it to Nick for this one first. where do you think we need to improve this weekend to beat the Box? And what do you reckon are our options available here?
Well, I mentioned it before. I think we got to capitalize on our opportunities more. Yeah, we got Quade got 8 out of 8, but we did lose 3 tries to 1. And there were many times that we did something great and didn't capitalize on it. When we play the All Blacks, they fucking punish us for that. So we still need, like, for me, that's a huge sign of progress if we can capitalize on our line breaks and not fuck them up. I think a case in point was before, and I remember I said this to you guys last night. Quade kicks it, really good kick. Jordan Petaia rushes up, pressures Willie LaRue to throw it out. Great stuff. We've just made about 30 meters. Then I think we have a line out, and we either lost the line out or conceded a penalty or something.
We conceded the penalty.
We lost the line out, then we conceded a penalty, and that all momentum
right.
going. Luckily, the Springboks then tried them all, and we stopped it, and got back the momentum. But it's just stuff like that which we've got to work on. The Springboks will come out, just firing. They'd be like hating themselves all week, come out, bash us up the park. So, yeah, I think, look, let's just play the same sort of game plan we were doing. Let's see how we go. Can we do it 2 weeks in a row? We've already done the hard yards, I reckon. We just got to see if we can do the basics right again. Not necessarily go for the win or be desperate to go for the win and that it becomes a blowout, let's say, but try to keep it nice and tight.
Yeah, look, I think this match is going to be a very good indication of where the Springboks actually are. And I know that we're probably saying this before question 4, before we dive into that. But, they have kind of, been, living off that moniker of being the world number 1 ranked team. And then they won the Lions series, which is nothing to be sniffed at all. Like they have earned that pedestal, as World Cup champions and as, then winning that Lions series. But, can they back it up after that performance? And there is no denying that even despite the fact that they lost this game, they still have an incredibly talented team, and that squad it was a very intimidating outfit when it was selected. Jack, what are your thoughts on this? Do you reckon it is a case of just trying to do the same strategy again, or do you think that we need to really sort of change things up a bit? And then, I think we were touching on this a little bit, whether it's the case of keeping Cooper in there, bringing O'Connor in. What do you think? What's the best way to try and approach this?
Yeah, I think you got to stay with the settled side. They got the win, so they get the reward by keeping their spot. It'll be interesting to see what the Springboks come out with next week, whether they change up their game plan or something like that. I thought, like our scrum, we, BCF'd them a few times. They did really well. I thought our line, like our maul defense was actually kind of pretty good, pretty tight. There's, as Nick said, there's not much you can do, but I thought, we kept it together at most parts of the game and kept them from going forward a fair few times. The only thing that drove me crazy during that game was the amount of box kicking we were doing. I think against South Africa, who was so good in the air and so good at, punishing you with kicks and all that sort of stuff. That was just making me pull my hair out. That was frustrating. So I think a bit better kick choices. Yeah, a few better decision making. But all in all, I think, I'm pretty confident next week. I think technically this game, like last night's game was their home game, and we beat them. So we've climbed the world rankings to number 5 now.
Yeah, we jumped 2 positions.
Yeah,
we overtook Argentina and France. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I think Suncorp's a home game, so that's a really important game to win, and that sets us up really nicely for the rest of the rugby championship.
Yeah, look, this one I'm kind of a bit hesitant on. Like, one, because I don't like ever trying to, like, I just hate getting cocky and then getting it's happened to me too many times that you've gotten cocky and then you've lost, or just it's all gone to your head a little bit. And as great as it is that we are playing at Suncorp, and the Wallabies have played very well at Suncorp. The ref's actually Jaco Piper, as well, so a South African ref. So I'm going to be kind of keeping a close watch on that. No disrespect to Piper, but I mean, it's no secret that there was a lot of question marks asked about the refereeing during that Lions series, and it was a real point of contention that was interesting to examine. Interesting point that you're talking about on that kicking management side of things. I feel like we really need to step up in terms of how we counteract those South African box kicks. I feel like while Banks had a better game plan or a better performance, I still am not totally convinced about his confidence under the high ball. I think it'll improve. I think he's improving every week after week. Apart from the occasional blunder that you see around. Such as that, we're not going to talk about that kick in Perth that he messed up. But I do think that kind of our game management, both within counteracting the Springboks box kick, but also in terms of our own box kicking and chasing as well, they really showed us up in that space. And I think that as a result, there wasn't as much. I could tell when they scored that try, they went to that because they knew that there was a real potential weakness point there, and that they then capitalised on. So I think that's a massive thing that we need to work on. Nathan, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a case of coming back down and coming back with the same strategy again and seeing what they respond with, or is it a case of just mostly dotting our I's and crossing our T's and just making sure that our game plan works more rather than changing things up?
I think we've got to stay focused on our game plan, and thankfully, I just double-checked. Matt Kiley's the ref. Not Piper's got the Argentinian game against New Zealand.
Oh, I must have.
Thank God for that.
Wikipedia's lied to me.
The thing with the South Africans is, looking at that performance, no way they will walk away and say, look, we gave the best we can. There was nothing we could improve on. Like their goal kicking was very un-South African in the sense that I think they missed they made 3 from 7. They seemed to expose us under the high ball and then went away from it, as you've kind of alluded to before. But I think the focus just still needs to stay on our game plan and not trying to sort of jump at shadows when they throw us something different, which I think we did very well last Sunday of just remaining composed and just relaxed, playing our own type of game. But again, they're going to come out needing to make a statement. I mean, the week after they're playing New Zealand in their Centurion game against the All Blacks. So they're going to be hurting. They're going to be fired up, ready to go. So I think this is the game where I think we get a better idea of where the Wallabies are. Because, we can beat these type of teams once. We've shown it before. But I think there's been too many times, and this is the pessimist striking again, we come out the next week and get beat by 20 or 30. Yeah. And then we take one step forward and then it just feels like 2 steps back. We need to see that consistent performance because otherwise, after this, it shapes up real nicely. I mean, you take South Africa out, you have 2 games against Argentina, a game against Japan, which I think Rennie's basically all that confirmed will happen before we go to the spring tour, and then a loaded tour. Like, realistically, if we can get through South Africa and once again find a way to win, we can all of a sudden build a streak. Yeah. I know this is me speaking 5 steps ahead, but you back us to beat Argentina twice if we could find a way to beat South Africa. We can beat Japan, and then we go to a spring tour thinking, well, what's next? This game is so crucial.
Yeah, I think it is. It's going to shape up as much of it as a critical game for us as much as the box. I think I definitely agree with you. There is, if we manage to pull off a win here, a second win, there is so much opportunity for the Wallabies to make up ground in terms of where they are, in terms of their own confidence, in terms of everything. And it's exciting. It's a really exciting prospect, and additionally, it tackles that one thing that they're struggling with consistently, and that is consistency. That is simple, honest consistency. That that has eluded them for the last couple of years. I'm just pulling up the numbers here in terms of the actual last time that we had like a 5, 6, 7 match winning streak. And I think the last time was let's have a look. Right
It
here.
would have been a while. It would have been on a Grand Slam or something.
No, it's typical of us to start thinking we can put a 5 or 6 game streak together after winning one.
Yeah, I know.
The last 3 pods we've been just saying, God, what's our next step? We beat South Africa.
Yeah.
Get the win streak. Yeah. Start the count. Let's go.
2017, there was about a 7-match period where we drew 2 games, but we won 5. But then the only other time before that was 2015 World Cup, where we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-match winning streak. And then before that, we lost 1 game, which was the All Blacks at Eden Park, of course. But we then won 3 games before that. So in 2015, we played, I think it was something like 12 test matches and we lost 2, which is, when was the last time we did that? And remember how much the public got behind the Wallabies when we made that World Cup final. Like, there's so much potential there. There's so much potential in terms of building team consistency, building that growth. It just really depends on how we show up. Can they do it? Of course they can. But, there's no discounting how strong that South African side is. But the potential is there, and that's exciting.
I kind of hope that we do go on this winning streak, if possible. The All Blacks will be quaking in their boots, scared of whatever, like July 2022.
Quake comes back. It's another Hollywood moment. You got your Hollywood moment this week, Nick, and then next year they'll do it again.
I'm excited about the spring tour. It's going to be good, especially with that extra Japan game. I think they're talking about playing Ireland. I'll definitely tune in for that. That'll be electric.
Yeah, another reason to get to stay up late at night and watch more rugby. It's the tough life to lead. Not getting starved of rugby this year.
I was just speaking of this fairy tale. Actually, I was genuinely really excited on Friday.
Really?
I think it was, because spring's in the air and you can feel the breeze and the smells coming through. And I think Quade was starting, honestly. And I texted my mate at work who also follows rugby. He's like, "Yeah, bro, I'm the same. I can't wait." This Quade, I just love him.
It sounds like, do you need to be left alone?
No.
You're going to need a moment after this.
Warm pro Quade company.
Well, yeah, it's exciting times, and I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic that because after those Argentinian games, we've got Scotland, we've got England, and we've got Wales. I'm pretty sure are the spring tour games, and there's a great opportunity there to really test ourselves. Especially Scotland. We've really been struggling against them for the last couple of years. They've really come a long way. England, of course. We're on like a 7-match losing streak to them at the moment, and Wales. They've really shown that they've been able to really find ways to beat us in the last couple of years. After we had the cut of the green for them for so many. There's so much potential there for growth and continuation and building of that confidence. Fingers crossed. Anyway, let's move on to question 4. Because I feel like following this win, it's kind of thrown a spanner in the works of the question that everyone is asking, which is who is the best team in the world? And I feel like it's such a generic question to ask. But we've been looking at the world rankings, and I always kind of take the world rankings with a bit of a grain of salt, a little bit. But there are some aspects to it that are a valid way of looking at it. And while South Africa is currently still first, and top 5 currently right now is South Africa, New Zealand, England, Ireland, Australia. Somehow we're in the top 5 again. Who do we think is the actual best team in the world right now? Honest to God. Nathan, I'll throw to you for this one first. What are your thoughts?
I've been saying for the past 5 podcasts, and I'll say it again, New Zealand's the number 1 side in the world. I don't care say South Africa won the World Cup. Yes. We know what happened. We know who lifted the trophy at the end. But let's go back to the first game in the World Cup. Who'd they get beat by? Oh, yeah, New Zealand. So I'm sorry. Am I supposed to believe the number one team in the world is the team that got beat by the number one team in the world at that time, New Zealand? But all of a sudden, because New Zealand had a bad game against England, they're all of a sudden the best team in the world? No, that's not how it works. Like you look at how New Zealand played Argentina, and you compare it to how South Africa played. Yes, South Africa blew them off the park, but my God, New Zealand could have put 50 on them. They looked incredible, and I know we have a little group chat. And shout out to Hamish Cole because he made this point and it resonated so much. Watching New Zealand play Argentina and just absolutely bullying Argentina, who are one of the more physical sides in the world, gave me confidence that, hey, we could actually do this against South Africa because we looked somewhat decent against New Zealand. And it's incredible to say, but let's face it, like our form coming out of those last two games wasn't ideal. Even the players were admitting that as well. Yet we come up against the so-called number one ranked side, and even the game where, let's face it, there's still areas we can improve on, and we touched on it. Like we won. So it's pretty obvious to me who the number one team is. It's got to be New Zealand. But, in true drop kick off fashion, South Africa to beat him in 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. But I'm dying on this hill. New Zealand's the best team. Daylight second.
Jack, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think, going off Natho's point, that we can only really determine it once we have that eventual clash between the two in Townsville, or do you think is it a foregone conclusion already? I mean, we've all been saying for a little while that we think that we personally think that New Zealand is the best team in the world, and I will say that while I was not convinced, by their performance, by their efforts under Ian Foster, I would say that up until Bledisloe 2, since Bledisloe 2, they have been playing probably the best rugby that they have, under him, at least certainly under Foster as coach since he got re-signed. And there is no denying that they were fantastic against Argentina on the weekend as well. And we haven't even talked about that game yet. What are your thoughts on this question, Jack?
Oh, yeah, I don't know whose fan base is more insufferable, the All Blacks or the Springboks. So they're definitely
let's just make the assumption we're going to piss off somebody no matter what.
They're definitely 1 and 2 in the world for most insufferable fans. I think that clash against that clash with the All Blacks against the Box is going to be epic. That's going to be awesome. Wish I could go to it. That and it'll be the 100th test. That'll be a cracker game. But if you do the maths, Springboks were the number one ranked team, and Wallabies beat them. So we're the best team in the world.
I knew someone was going to say it.
That's just simple.
It's good enough for boxing. It should be good enough for rugby.
That makes us World Cup champs as well.
The title now.
Yeah, we're World Cup champions now.
Give Craig the belt.
World heavyweight champs.
World heavyweight champs. Like, may as well chuck in the Bledisloe as well. Don't let the folks across the ditch know. Yeah,
mate. We got Randburg Shield.
Yeah,
so we do have the trophy. I did say that through Sam Phillips that we now have the trophy which essentially makes us the best team in the world. Sort of, not really, but
we literally keep the trophy. That makes us the best team in the world.
But I mean, it's just that game. Those games are going to be great. By the way, I really hope they get a good crowd to both games. It's going to be awesome.
So excited.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Nick? Do you reckon it'll be decided come game time in Townsville, or I feel like this is just going to transfer into like a prediction for that match, because I mean we're going to be hyping it.
Yeah. Well, my answer is got to wait until Townsville. Yeah. I think it's a bit like South Africa at the moment. Haven't really played a lot lately. New Zealand's had probably 2 interrupted seasons, I think. I don't know if they've stopped playing rugby during their outbreak now, but, that's kind of different. It's been sort of business as usual for them. So that might explain a bit of the difference now rather than a regular cycle. But I reckon, we'll have to wait until Townsville. think
Yeah.
Nathan's right. Probably agree with Nathan. The All Blacks are a class above, and maintain that level as well. South Africans, like New Zealand, probably would never put in a performance like the Springboks did.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Last
I
night.
mean,
So I feel like they did, but it was that game. I think game 2 where we sort of had a shot, but they're just that extra step as you were talking about, that extra level where they can still have a bad game and go, all right, we can still close this out and just blow you out with a 10-minute performance.
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I do. I kind of. I am a little bit wary about the Box though, because I mean they'll be the first to admit that their performance on the weekend wasn't good, and if they suddenly themselves are able to switch it around and play at the level that we know they're capable of, suddenly this conversation becomes very different in terms of who is number one in the world. But it'll be one to watch. All roads lead to Townsville for that one on the 25th. But we'll move on to our final question of the evening, which is simple predictions for this weekend. Before that game in Townsville, we have matches at Suncorp Stadium this weekend. We've got same matches as the game ones played on the Gold Coast this week. Argentina will be playing against New Zealand, and of course the Wallabies will be up against the Box. Jack, I'm going to throw to you to kick us off on the predictions for this weekend. What are your thoughts? Who's going to win what?
Yeah, Argies don't really have much of a chance against the All Blacks, unfortunately. You saw Ledesma talking today in the press conferences about all the challenges they face, and it gets swept under the radar a lot because the Argies are happy to come here, quarantine, travel, play who they can, and it's a credit to them because they're fierce competitors and they just want to play rugby. But they haven't had a home game in over 2 years. It's crazy to think, it was amazing to see them get that win over the All Blacks this last year. But I think they're too strong. The All Blacks, I can't see them giving away anything like that again. It's pretty scary. They're really hitting their strides now, I think. And then for South Africa, Wallabies, go the Wallabies. Always got to back the boys. That's why we watch rugby. It's a never-ending cycle of optimism. It's the roller coaster ride to be a Wallabies fan, but you got to grit it out for weekends like that just happened. Everyone on Twitter saying what a great game, and you can just feel the support behind us. So we've got to keep that up. We've got to build that momentum and carry it through for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Argentina, and we haven't really talked about them much in this podcast. The fact that went down 39-0. I was having a chat to Paul Tate, friend of the pod. We've had him on a couple of times to talk about the Jaguares and the Pumas right now. He's kind of our resident cover of all things America's rugby. And I asked him what the hell's going on with Argentina right now. And there is that off-field stuff that you mentioned, but he also talked about how right now it seems like everyone has really figured out the Argentine game plan and that there really needs to be a reconfiguration of it. Additionally, apparently, just in his eyes, the Pumas are kind of losing a lot of small battles in the contact area. And additionally, kind of how they're performing at the ruck is playing a huge factor in just losing momentum in terms of their game plan. He also has some questions about some of the selections that Ledesma has been doing. And, it's particularly ever since that Romanian game where they got really nearly shown up by Romania during their tour in July, there has been, I have been a little bit worried about where how the Argentinians are going. Even though they did manage that series win against Wales, a depleted Wales, but still, I'm a little bit worried about how the Pumas are going. Nathan, I'm going to throw to you for this for your predictions. Who do you think is going to win these two games?
Yeah, I'm going to stop short of last week's prediction of saying they were going to get beat by 30, even though they got beat by 40 this week. I think this is kind of the type of game where having all that we've mentioned and coming off a performance like that you get that spark from an Argentinian side. They seem like a team which, when I wouldn't say embarrassed is a strong word, but they were really outclassed during that game. I think it'll do a lot to galvanise them and sort of take it. The second game up this week, so I'm not sure if that will have a little bit to do with it, but probably not. But they still get, don't get me wrong, they still get beat, but I think it'll be closer. I'm saying only about a 10 to 15 point loss. As for the Wallabies, oh, God, this is the problem. You put me on a pod like 24 hours afterwards and I get hope, and hope just, it clouds any sensible judgment. My head is telling me that Hondre Pollard doesn't have a bad game like he did last night. And he probably kicks 20 for the Springboks to win by about 8. But you know what? Nah, this is the time. Well, Wallabies by 5. The streak continues at Suncorp. The fortress is coming, and we're going to be undefeated for the rest of the year.
Oh, jeez. Whoa. Okay.
Whoa.
No. That last one. Over-exaggeration. Last one.
I love it.
Oh, my God.
Let's reel it in. I reel it in. We're undefeated.
Yeah, the
next
boys.
Year. Nah,
reel them out. Cast the net. Net.
Well,
don't reel it in. Cast the net.
I'm kind of back this week. Tupou to start with, Alatoa leaving camp. I think we have enough to just get this trophy back, and I'll keep with the 5. We'll say Wallabies by 5.
Yeah, fair. And then last but certainly not least, Nick Hartman. What are your thoughts? Predictions?
Argentina. Don't see them going anywhere. I think, you know what Nathan say? Beat by 30, beat by 40. I reckon it'll be the same again. Not to nil this time. Wallabies. Oh, look, I just think South Africa, they're a smart team. They play smart footy. They didn't on the weekend. They usually do. I think they will come back. They've also, I think, Cheslin Colby's coming back. And he's a world-class winger. So I think that just adds so much to their game, and especially their, kick it high into the wings sort of approach. I think they'll probably pip us. But, the most important thing is that I'm fucking looking forward to the game. It'll be great. I hope we just don't drop our spaghetti.
Yeah, I really hope we don't get... Yeah. Make a game of it. That's what I'd hope. Just really, really make a game of it.
And I hope Banks doesn't get picked. I want to see someone else there.
Yeah. Look.
So we haven't mentioned this yet, but also I was going to say like Hodge. We should play Hodge, but given his fucking weird kick that he did at the end of the game.
Oh no, that was.
It was a weird kick, wasn't it?
Although I love the thing that Jack shared on our chat about it.
It's
like, actually, think about it again. He kicked it up, which meant that they spilt the ball, which means we got a scrum.
Yeah, which means, and then suddenly the penalty. It was just next level smart thinking. Yeah.
But those are my predictions.
So you think Safa?
And I'm stopping it this weekend, unlike certain Nathan.
Yeah.
Let it run through the hope. Let it seep into your blood, and if we record this on Friday, you'd be saying it's a Wallabies by 10. But
yeah,
just wait till he's named at 10 again. Sean McMahon comes back at 8.
Whoa!
Could happen. It's probably not going to happen because he's only just joined camp. But
kick the ball through the posts and Tongan Thor sitting on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, please don't. You're going to make me cry. It's a tough one. I definitely agree with the Ari Pumas All Blacks. All Blacks are going to win that. I don't know.
Argentina are currently paying $12.50 to win. So I'm
jeez, please. My God. I don't know. Wallabies box, I genuinely don't know, because as much as I do, it's Suncorp and we play really well at Suncorp. I've just got a feeling that the box are going to lift. I've got a feeling the box are going to be pissed off and they're going to want to come out and make a statement. And this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Wallabies at Suncorp, Springboks. I don't know. I genuinely don't know who to pick. I have no idea. Fuck it, Wallabies. Fuck it.
Yes.
Fuck it. Like I'll eat humble pie on this one, but I've been eating humble pie this entire pod. It's literally we should probably rename it to eating humble pie because
just the full 90. Just we started out being like, oh no, if we come away with a win, we'll be happy, and we're making outrageous statements like we can win the rest of the year's games, go undefeated. Like it's.
What have we become?
we ride with the emotion, and that's it. It's just
very, very report card of us.
Love it.
All right, boys. Let's wrap it up. It's been a wholesome edition of humble pie, wholesome humble pie. But we'll have covered all of our questions, and we're now looking forward to this next game against the Boks and the Wallabies, which will be at Suncorp this Saturday. Additionally, the Pumas will be playing against the All Blacks as well in another doubleheader. Can't get much better than that. Thanks, boys, all for coming out tonight and chatting rugby. So good to talk about a fantastic Wallabies win. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we'll be doing the same thing next week. Touch wood, hopefully. My name is Nick Masilia. Thanks for listening to the dropped kickoff, and we'll catch you next time round.
Eric.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, what did go wrong?
I'll have to look and think about it deeply, very deeply.
Did it hinge in the end on a bit of genius from Sreli Bombo?
Bit of genius, bit of magic. Sreli Bombo, very interesting, very good, yeah. Very good. 3 cheers for Sreli Bombo, very good, very good.